And good afternoon. I'm Whit Johnson in New York. We're coming back on the air because the judge has just sentenced Sean Diddy Combs to 4 years in prison. He was found guilty over the summer on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution in connection with his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura and another woman, but was acquitted on more serious charges that could have sent him to prison for life. Let's get right to our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky, who's been following this trial from the beginning. He joins us from outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. So, Aaron, we just got the verdict right there. We know that Combs himself spoke to the judge. The judge responded. Lay out the sentencing here and what went down in the courtroom today.
She said he has to stay.
This was a very long sentencing hearing, which Sean Combs himself, once larger than life, was left begging for mercy, standing at the defense table, telling the judge that he's a changed man, apologizing for his behavior. But that request for a lenient sentence of time served was rejected by the judge, Arun Subramanian, who said it was insufficient to send the kind of message that he wanted to send, that violence against women must be met with real accountability. And so he sentenced Sean Combs to 4 years in prison. That's not as much as federal prosecutors here wanted. They wanted 11 years in prison, reminding the judge that Sean Combs has a penchant for violence and abuse, pointing to 2016 hotel security video showing Combs attacking Cassie Ventura. Combs says he knows that video intimately. He apologized to Cassie Ventura. The judge said 11 years was unreasonable, but 4 years is just the right amount, the judge said, to send a message to Sean Combs, to victims of domestic violence, that their accounts will be taken seriously. Whit?
Aaron, thanks. Let's go ahead and bring in a trial attorney and ABC News legal contributor, Brian Buck.
Let me pause there real quick. Before he continue, I want to say this. I hate to be beating a dead horse here. He wasn't charged for domestic violence. Okay. Sean Diddy Combs was not charged for domestic violence. So that's fine that you want to sentence this man due to domestic violence, but he was not charged for domestic violence. So the judge is stating that he's penalizing a man for something he actually was not charged for. That's like giving Sean Diddy Combs a sentence for racketeering when he wasn't charged for racketeering. But even worse, that's like giving him a sentence for murder when he wasn't charged for murder, right? Because he got exempt. He should only be prosecuted on the transportation of prostitution. That's the only thing he should be charged for. He shouldn't be charged for anything else. Now, I know they got to take everything else in consideration, but domestic violence has nothing to do with prostitution. Are you getting me this here? And the only reason I say this is because if I don't put my foot down now about what I believe it is, I think this is going to carry on where people are being prosecuted and sentenced based on things that they weren't actually accused of. Obviously, he had a domestic violence, but he dispute with his girl. Obviously, he was doing it, but yet they never filed charges against it, which is crazy. Out of everything, you should have charged him with DV, but you never charged him with DV. So how is he? Because when the judge is saying, "Oh, you are basically a problem for society, and you might go after your people that went after you," you got to think about it. You weren't charged for that. You were charged for transportation of prostitution. That has nothing to do with abuse. That has nothing to do with domestic violence. You were just charged with prostitution, technically, a transportation of prostitution, which means you paid someone to go somewhere to give you sexual acts. That's all he should be charged for. So when the judge is giving him a sentence based on the victims, but the victim wasn't forced to do these actions. Now, it would make sense if the victim, Cassie Ventura, was forced to have intimate intercourse with the prostitutes by force due to Sean Diddy Combs. But that is not the case here. Why is that not the case, Angelo? Because not only did Sean Diddy Combs did not pick the guy, she didn't even pay for the trip, which is the flight, and or have interactions directly with the prostitute himself. He is guilty of paying her for paying for the prostitute. That is, yes, he's 100% guilty of doing such things. But the thought of picking up the prostitute, the thought of transporting the prostitute, because she paid for the flight, all in her name and everything, and also she used the prostitute all by her own choice, right? This is the only reason I keep bagging this up, because when the judge is making these notion that let's sentence him to 4 years because of domestic violence, he's not being charged with domestic violence. It's like me doing a murder case. I beat the murder, but you charge me with robbery, but you are charging me with as if I still murdered somebody. You're giving me murder sentence numbers when I didn't murder no one, and I got acquitted for that. And that's why I have this kind of problem with this, is because, and I'm not saying it's a horrible sentence, yes, but we're talking about man years here. We're talking about a person's life. And I understand he did bad by dragging her through the hotel lobby. He shouldn't have done that. But let's be sure. Let's be copacetic about this. He and her were both abusive to each other. But either way, it doesn't matter, because he was not charged for domestic violence. He was charged with racketeering, sex trafficking, acquitted on both, which means you can't sentence him on both. And that's why I felt like they were going for a mistrial, because of that reason, because now the judge is using the domestic violence as a notion to sentence him more, as a warning to other domestic violence users. But he's not charged for domestic violence, sir. So you're charging him something that he wasn't charged on? You're giving him man years for something he wasn't charged on? That's why I have a confliction with this whole thing. Now, that being said, 4 years is not that bad. You know what I'm saying? But when 10 years is the max, 2 years for each sentence, that's 20%. That's not super bad, right? But it's not about it being bad or not. It's about the principle. In my eyes, I feel like Cassie Ventura, who is the victim of said prostitution, of transportation to prostitution, is actually the suspect in the corporate of situation. Why? Because she not only picked the guy, she paid for his flight to come to their direction, and she also had sex with said man. Diddy only had his hands in the pot when he paid her for her money that she paid the guy. Which makes sense, because they were dating in a relationship. Why, as a billionaire, would I not pay my less billionaire, non-billionaire girlfriend for the money she spent to enjoy our time together, even though I didn't use said prostitute? Now, explain to me if this is wrong. I'm gonna be honest. Like, y'all tell me in the comment section if I'm saying this is wrong, because I'm trying to make sense of this. I understand what he did, but if he's acquitted on those charges and DV wasn't one of those charges, why charge him as if he did do DV? And then for the charge he did get charged for, he did the most least part of the crime that can be associated with. He is guilty by association, and he's not guilty by action. He's not guilty by using of such service, the prostitution. She coerced all that. She put that all together. So she should be the one that also gets time, because she is the corporate behind that. That's like me buying a prostitute. Me and my girl, we going out. She got more money than me, but she an older chick. She want to have a threesome, whatever, but she really want me to just have sex with another girl in front of her. She have me pick the girl out, fly the girl out, and then when I fly the girl out, I have sex with the girl. And then my rich girlfriend just gives me the money that I spent for this prostitute. And now my rich girlfriend is getting charged for transportation to prostitution. Does that make sense? I picked the girl. I flew the girl out, gave her the details and everything, and I picked that out. And I also paid the girl to go there and then I had sex with said girl. While my girlfriend, which is the rich girl, paid me for all the money I spent on the prostitute that she seen me clap. Tell me if this makes sense, bro. That's all I'm saying. I want y'all to tell me what y'all think in the comment section about this whole situation. And really, before you give me any personal feelings, take your feelings out of this and tell me what you actually think about this. If the judge is sentencing him based on domestic violence, wouldn't you think he would have to be charged for said domestic violence, sex trafficking, and or prostitution or something like that? No, he wasn't. Racketeering, he wasn't. He was only charged on transportation and prostitution. Then you got to evaluate how much of transportation and prostitution was he physically involved in than the person that actually used said service. How do you prosecute somebody for something you didn't use? It's entertaining, man. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section. It's your boy Angelo Savage. Make sure you subscribe. Let's go. Peace.